Good morning, afternoon,
Evening,
it's still
wherever you are.
morning. No,
Yeah,
it's
well, it depends on.
it's before noon.
Yeah, here,
So
West Coast or
before
East Coast.
noon.
Yeah.
Happy before noon, everybody. Welcome to Traders Edge Crypto Live, where we are traders trading crypto and we are live trying to trade crypto live. My name is
Right.
Lawton Ho, and I'm joined by
Benjamin Poole, head trader here at Verified Investing.
And Drew Dosek. How you guys doing?
what's going on. And I just want to say a couple things before we get into it. First of all, if you want to ask us questions, you can do so exclusively at the verifiedinvesting.com homepage. You can submit your crypto related questions and we will do our best to answer them. The second thing, and this is really important, thank you so much to Blofin for answering our questions. We have this awesome promotion that we're running with Blofin. You can scan that QR code right on your screen to take advantage of this until September 4th and get up to 15% cash back. Right, and this is only for the first 50 users. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and scan that QR code. Thank you again to Blofin for sponsoring us. All right, guys, what's going on? What do we got in the charts? What are you guys looking at? Anything to trade? Nothing to trade?
Well, I've got two that are on my radar, but we're starting to get a decent bounce up. Let me at least show you guys what's going on with Bitcoin that I see, and then I'll toss the charts over to Ben. We're getting a nice bounce up, beautiful 10-minute bottoming tail so far on Bitcoin. So that's really lifting a lot of cryptocurrencies away from entry points that I had. On Avalanche, I do have a level I'm interested in. If we get price to come down and excel down into the 2350 area, I would be interested in going long on a day trade there. Polkadot has already retreated down in, but Polkadot's not as strong of a stock, or pardon me, crypto as Avalanche. And it's already retraced down into this consolidation. The better level for it's going to be around $3.70. So we're about 19 cents away on that. So those are the two I'm interested in. Avalanche, right around 23.50, and Polkadot, basically $3.70. And so I'll be watching both of those. Ben, what do you have on your radar, sir?
I have AI16Z. AI16Z has a nice little bottoming tail. I mean, a pretty decent bottoming tail. So I'd be willing to play this on a 50% Fibonacci retracement. So I'm going to take this pivot low here.
Wait, I just flipped it over. It looks like you have launch.
I'm looking at Launchcoin right now.
Got it. That's all right. I had a different. Okay, well let's try this again. All right.
AI16Z. What a name.
Yep. I know. It's fine. It doesn't matter what the name is. So same pattern, right? So you get a 50% Fibonacci retracement. It's already retraced there. So I was initially thinking that would be a great opportunity to get in. Now I'll look for a little bit lower. 786. So 1123 is where I would be looking for AI16Z. Other than that, I don't really have a lot. Like Drew was mentioning, it did get a bounce with Bitcoin. So we'll have to just wait for pattern setup.
Perfect. Yeah, with this little bounce, it's kind of offsetting what levels could be hit. And, you know, this bounce has been substantial for the last, 30, 40 minutes plus. And so it's one of those where it's not high enough to start shorting, and it's still not at the lows to start buying up other positions. So we're kind of stuck in a waiting time frame at the moment.
But you'd consider entering on a retrace, right?
That's correct. Yep, that is correct.
Cool. Juania says, can you look at Ethereum Classic? Seems to be stuck in a wedge.
Sure.
Do you see any wedges on Ethereum Classic?
I know. Didn't you pull that up the other week too, Ben?
I did, yes.
Ethereum Classic. I know I have not. Here, let's see. All right. Ethereum Classic. Sure. Let's check it out. All right. Ethereum. There we go. Where is Ethereum Classic?
ETC? ETC. No, just ETC. Yep. USDT.
There.
USDT.
All right, let's take a look at this. Whew. Well, the good news is you're both flagging right at this moment. So you're going to need, though, to get over this. That's the main test as far as the upward resistance for Ethereum Classic. The good news on this is a weekly chart too. Notice this flag pattern will probably put you pretty close to getting up there, right around 29 to 30 bucks. So be watching this flag pattern. If you go to the daily, it's not as clean, but this is still all just consolidation for a near-term move up to $29. Try to see here what you could have potential larger movements. Look at this pivot to these pivots. So we're basically, this is the immediate test zone to break out. Now this area, this trend line's at 25.08. You see there we've gotten rejected over the last 4 trading days. Had a beautiful surge up right into that trend line and has since gotten rejected. You just want to see price stay in this range if you're a bull on this, because if that does break, this in essence is an inverse shoulders pattern too. And that could take price up quite a bit higher than that $29 resistance I had mentioned before. We'd be looking at a break roughly, right around 39 bucks. So this certainly has potential, but the main thing to be watching is this trend line that in essence is the neckline, the inverse head and shoulders pattern. This is on the daily chart, the pivot from back in looks like the very end of January, connected over to the pivots there in July. That's what I would be watching very, very closely. Now, this pattern would negate itself if we have price action come down underneath this area. It would likely be negated. Really it's negated underneath this head. You don't want to see price get underneath 1269, but you can almost anticipate that break when we have price come down to this trend line right around 1740. And if that area breaks, it's testing this consolidation. And so that would alert you then, we're about to potentially have a pattern break down. So I would be watching it from that end. And that's just the way I approach trades. I want to see both ends, like where are the resistance areas above, where are the support levels below. That way my mind can wrap myself around the trade and figure out, okay, if this trade is starting to fail, which way is it going to go? Is it going to then start breaking down? And if it does break down, is it just a fake out? And then I'll be able to isolate those fake outs, determine a potential pivot point for a turnaround, all because of preparing ahead of time on both sides of the trade. So basically, like how I just formulated all of those levels is something in good practice that I like to do.
Gotcha. So a really good question here from David. David says, would like to get Blowfin, but I don't own any crypto to transfer in. So what are the other options available to fund the account with USD? Does Blowfin track all trades for IRS reporting? So the way that I do it is I have a Coinbase account. I put in money to the Coinbase through either a debit card or PayPal account or whatever. And then from there, I transfer that into Blowfin. Right, I buy USDC or USDT, send it to Blowfin from my Coinbase wallet. As far as if Blowfin tracks all trades for IRS reporting, they don't have it in that format, but there is something, and I'm looking at now, called the Order Center, so you can look at all of your history and everything that you've done on Blowfin for those purposes. Let's see. Paula says, concerned about the long term with Bitcoin given how much debt and institutions are involved in Bitcoin.
What's the question? What's the underlying question behind that? Are you saying that based on the fact that it is over leveraged, it could go down, or because it's over leveraged, it's removing the possible coins that can be purchased, which could then make it go up? I guess that's...
So how much debt and institutions are involved? I feel like that insinuates that the concern is that it's gonna fall. You're concerned it's gonna fall?
I can see that. And I'm just kind of piecing together some of that, where you have so many institutions that are getting involved at a higher price. That's my concern, right? Is most retail investors with crypto buy and really just hold for the moon, right? It's kind of, not all of us, but it's just most investors don't have an issue getting into a crypto, but they have an issue on when to get out of the crypto. So you create a lot of retail investors that buy and hold, right? But then you have these institutions that are coming on board, creating their whole business philosophy, much like MSTR, and just buying Bitcoin, right? And they're doing so at prices over $100,000. And we've seen for the last several years, price just hasn't been up there for Bitcoin. So I understand that concern, and they're leveraging themselves to get more Bitcoin. And whenever Bitcoin comes down under 100, that's going to be the real story that will be told. What do these institutions do at that point? Do their funds start drying up? Do they start acquiring more money? In which case, they're going to be gobbling up Bitcoin left and right. And then the dips are going to be very hard to sustain. They're likely going to be quick dips. So, yeah, I understand the concern. It's just my mind's trying to wrap my head around their whole thought process behind it too.
Yeah, and Paula gave an update. Yeah, Paula said she's concerned about the long-term viability, and then if I was a professional trader, cool, swing it. But as I'm not, I do not think the hold for the moon is valid. Thesis anymore.
Well, it really depends on your long-term outlook. Are you saying, all right, well, there's a finite number of Bitcoin. So now, is it going to go to 225,000? Eventually it could, right? Because of the finite resource. And if institutions start dumping, could it drop? Yeah. But there's a lot of people who just say, all right, well, that gives us an opportunity to buy more Bitcoin. Yep. And so we really don't know the long-term effects yet because it hasn't been up here as long. So if you get from my thought process, is because there's so many institutions that hold some Bitcoin, there's not as many of the long-term like hodlers. And so if people start seeing their portfolios start to decrease rapidly and Bitcoin drops under 100,000, like Drew was saying, they could start getting scared and say, all right, well, the thesis was 250. Now it's under 100,000, or maybe it's 150, whatever their thesis is. Now it's under 100. Oh no, it's going to go down to 50. And so I'm going to sell. And so I can rebuy back at 50, or, whatever the next level of support in their brain is. So it's really tough, right? You can't really predict what's going to happen until it happens. All we can do is follow the charts. It's overextended on the daily time frame, for sure, and is due for a pullback. It's still continuing to get that support at 111,000, the previous all-time high, before it made the new all-time highs, right? So if it can start breaking under 111, 110,000, it'll get a little bit more fear in the markets. Once a little bit more fear in the markets, then you can have more sellers long-term thought processes start selling into that, and that could drive the prices down to 100,000. And then I think that'll be the ultimate test. If we can get underneath 100,000, then we'll have to see what the charts are telling us, and then what not only the crypto market, the rest of the crypto market's doing, but also the stock market. Because with these institutions, they have to be buying as Bitcoin is being bought up in these ETFs. So if, let's say, you're investing in IBIT, well, every dollar that you put in there has to be the same equivalent amount of Bitcoin. And so that's in your, could be in your 401k, but if you start dumping that stuff, then they'll have to sell it, and it'll be forced selling. So again, I'm with you though. I think that over the long term, it should have a dip, but I don't know when that is. I don't know when that's going to happen. So yeah.
Gotcha.
Wish I had a better thesis for you on when that's going to happen.
Yeah, Paul said, I think it puts retail investors, especially those close to retirement, at more risk. Yeah, definitely could see that happening. All right, let's move into some chart questions. Jillian says Litecoin had a nice drop. Any support close or nearby, rather?
All right, let's go into Litecoin. All right. Let me see. So here's the chart of Litecoin. I'm just going to make sure it's on my charts.
There you go.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Litecoin, it had an okay drop. So what I'm seeing is you've got a shoulder here, possible head and shoulder. It's not a very good head and shoulder pattern. However, if it starts breaking down, you're going to get support at $104. You got this previous pivot top right here, pivot low right here. And so the support is going to be there. It's kind of similar to what's going on with Bitcoin, right? Where it's Bitcoin's hovering at 110,000. It keeps trying to break below that, but there's a ton of support. So in Litecoin, you're going to see the same type of situation where, as you can see, it's already caught support. The more often it hits on this support level, though, the weaker it gets, and you could even get a move back down to about $82. So, and if you're a long-term holder for Litecoin, which I know a lot of people are, getting it 104 or even right around $100, that could be a good long-term hold for you. Knowing that it could go down to $80, which would be a 20% drop, and even down to $62, which would be 40%. But if you're dollar cost averaging into it and you have a longer term time horizon, then I think you'd be fine. All right, heads up on AI16Z, you guys. So 1123 is my entry price. It hasn't gotten there yet, but it's getting close. So I have a 1/10 position. So that's 10%. I'm using 3x leverage. So if it gets down there, 1123 is my entry price on AI16Z. Okay, I'm showing you the perpetual contract. It trades a little bit different on my trading view than it does in Blowfin, but just giving you a heads up. It looked like it was coming in there.
Nice. Let's get it in. Let's get a trade.
Well,
let's see polka dot starting to come in too. Beautiful sell-off now happening. All right, I'll take the next questions, Lawton. While Ben is getting close to that trade, because Avalanche is still a bit of ways away for me. Polka dot again, $3.70. We're about 17 cents away on that.
All right. Tommy says, how do y'all deal with funding rates when holding trades longer than quick day trades?
What was the first part of that question?
How do you deal with funding rates when holding trades longer than a day trade?
Well, first of all, you got to approach every trade with much like how I looked at the charts just a moment ago. You got to book in where you're going to be right and where you're going to be wrong. And then you got to define what you're going to be doing with that one trade. If that one trade is just a day trade, then, honestly, the best practice is to limit it at that. And then at the end of the day, close that trade out if you're wrong. Now, if you choose to break that rule, then that's on you. And then you can find yourself tied to the position, which kind of almost sounds like what's happening. And then you'd have to maneuver within that position. But say if you went into the thought process like you were going to have a day trade, it goes against you, and you're wanting to decide to hold longer. One of the first things I would check off in my mind is, do I have the ability to still maneuver? That would be the first thing. If you're already committed to this trade, overly so, and don't want to commit any more capital to it, that's your sign to just close it at the end of the day, move on to another trade. If you have the ability to maneuver and you understand the risks that are involved with holding such a large position for a longer duration, then go ahead. But you'll have to be able to maneuver, and you'll have to be skilled at finding the next support and or resistance levels that you're targeting for an additional add. So there's several steps to that, but you got to decide first what you're doing with that trade. Now everything can change when you're in a trade, as far as, maybe support levels get blown through, resistance levels are blown through. So you need to have other levels besides those to help you in attack that trade. If you don't have any of those, or if the next support or resistance levels are much further away, it would be a good idea, again, to just stop out in the beginning. So that's how I avoid it. I go into every trade with a thought process as what I'm trying to accomplish with this trade. And if that doesn't work out, well, then my level and my thesis for entering that trade may not be as valid now as it was, say, 2 hours ago when I entered that trade. So it's a constant reevaluation process to see if your level is and or thesis will work out to get you into that profit land. So hopefully that makes sense. I know one of the worst things in day trading is to be too heavily involved with one position, because then it not only creates stress for you, and it can cause you to make bad decisions. We want to act as a robot when trading. We find a support level, we buy it. We find a resistance level, we sell it. That's just what we want to do. And if you're too heavy, you may start fogging your brain and decision-making capabilities. So definitely want to be aware and try to avoid that.
Yeah, what I second that. You got to determine, am I holding on to this for a day trade, or am I swing trading it? Because if you shouldn't have as big of a problem if you're holding it for a swing trade and you've already determined that this is going to be a swing trade. Right. Mm-hmm. So the funding rates shouldn't affect you as much.
Right. And especially with crypto, right? These cryptocurrencies can pop 20, 30+% really easily. So I'd almost go into any swing trade knowing that, hey, look, I can be out of the money 20, 30% in this position. Am I going to be okay with that? And how am I going to maneuver and react because of that? Am I going to go lighter on my entries? So that's, each sector too, when you get it over in stocks, behaves a little bit differently. And crypto is one of those sectors, if you will, that really has a lot of volatility. So especially with these altcoins. What was that one over the week? What, OBQ or OBK?
OKB.
OKB, excuse me. Yeah, it's just ripped from like what, $40 to about 250 or something like that.
It did get to 250, yeah.
Yeah. So these cryptos can really run, and so you've got to be aware of that, and that's okay that they run. And matter of fact, I'd rather them run like this. It creates volatility, which are trading opportunities for us to excel at and capitalize on this movement.
All right, gotcha. Jay says, "Hey guys, hope you're doing well. I just bought some SEI. How do you see the chart? I'm a swing trader and expecting it to 2x. How high and how low do you guys think it would be able to go?"
So you're looking for a 200 times movement? Well,
2x. So 100% move.
Okay, got it. So you're looking for it to go up to 60 cents.
Yeah.
All right, let me see. All right, so here's the chart of SEI. You do have this nice wedge pattern that's formed. If you can get a break above this down-sloping trend line, then yeah, it could get up to 40. 40 cents would be my max upside, and really depends on what's going on with Bitcoin. On the downside, if you have this upsloping trend line right here and you break below it, you're gonna have a little support at 27 cents. And then, as you can see, it's caught a lot of support on this 27-cent level. But again, you just need it to stay above here. If you're in it right now and you're looking to swing trade it, you could add right here at this low, this green bar candle right at 20 cents. And then really that would be the max downside I could see for SEI.
See what else we got. Michael says, "Hey guys, I want to start a swing short on Ethereum. Can you guys please guide?"
Yes, be careful. Here, there we go.
I mean, it's already down a bit, but it could.
Yeah,
it's not bad.
The couple things that are good for that, we've got a beautiful doji candle right here that occurred on Sunday when we made new all-time highs. Notice this was the previous all-time high, 48.67, and price just pierced it, went above it, came right back in. Also notice right here, we are breaking trend because we started marching higher, got rejected, got marched higher again, got rejected again. So this area is pretty critical for the upward momentum on Ethereum. Now, one thing I want to at least bring to your attention, I was doing some research over the weekend and some calculations, and potentially with this break, the way Ethereum's breaking this declining trend line right here, we have the potential of Ethereum to move all the way up here to 72.89. So on the very near term, though, I think this move on Ethereum is really kind of getting gassed out, meaning they're running out of steam. So I do think a pullback is due, and a pullback's likely going to a very aggressive pullback. Say if you were waiting to be, aggressive on the short, would be a short all the way down to about 3,500. I really doubt it gets down there with all the interest that Ethereum has really garnered recently. Something would seriously have to change the momentum and sentiment, or the really the feel of it in the crypto space. Because again, this hasn't made new higher highs like Bitcoin has. Ethereum's really been lagging behind, so I think it has a lot of room to pick up steam and really push higher. So with all that being said, and I'm just cautioning you on it, the levels of support, as you see here on my chart, take a picture of it like a screenshot. That's where I would be targeting. If I was shorting this, I would be wanting to get out roughly a little bit before support on either one of these support levels. 42.84, 38.69, followed by the most aggressive level would be on this declining trend line from previous all-time highs down over to these pivots, mainly strung through this pivot here, March of 24, and that price. I just don't see it getting there unless we really have a strong sell on Bitcoin, pulling price under $100,000 and potentially lower. Then Ethereum could get down under this sub $3,800 level. But if you are shorting, definitely beware that there is a lot of upside potential for this. Next resistance, 5,100, which is this inclining trend line, followed by 6,100, the other inclining trend line. So you've got the ground paved for higher movements up, but no doubt near term overbought. We should have some sort of pullback. I expected when Ethereum ripped over 4,000 for it to come back down under 4,000, and it just hasn't done that. So that just shows you the strength there still in Ethereum. A short is a very tough play on that crypto.
Yep. All right. David says, in Bluefin for Bitcoin, are you able to see the ask and bid spread? Let me check. You can, yes. You are able to see them, yes. Ikla says, Ravencoin seems to be dropping below support. What are the levels?
Ravencoin?
Yeah, I'll show Ben's chart.
Oop, his mic's not working.
Oh, he's
all
muted.
right. There we go. So Ravencoin is still in some support. So as you can see on the chart, you've got all this support in this area. It's not until it gets below that it's going to drop down to 10,883. This green bar candle right here. This is the start of this green bar candle. Let me go ahead and mark this on here for you, so you guys can see. Oh, I don't know what happened there. Okay, 10866 is actually that green bar candle. That's the start of it. So right now, as long as it stays above this low pivot area, still a strong coin and could potentially go higher. Just seeing if I can draw some additional trend lines. This trend line right here. Yeah, so once you break out of this down sloping trend line, you're going to have another move to the upside. Could it go up to 1648, 16748? You got this high pivot area, which is going to be strong resistance. So a couple different scenarios, right? You gotta either stay above this high or this low pivot, or break this down sloping trend line and get all the way to this high pivot. So not sure if I answered the question, but yeah,
I think he just said, what are the levels? There's not much of a question there. Other than that, Paulo says, this is a burning question. All right. Given how quickly crypto moves and the fact that many of us have our jobs, Wouldn't it make sense to have bots? Doesn't that reduce risk along with having trading plans?
You could just preset your orders. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess that would be the
I mean,
suggestion
there
I
are
would have.
plenty of bots out there, right?
Oh, tons of them.
Yeah. There are tons of bots out there, so
I like to look at the levels. Just because a level is good this time doesn't mean it's going to be good next time. So next Monday, the level I gave you today won't be the same, especially with as much movement that happens in the altcoin markets, right? So, I guess it depends on, like, are you looking to swing trade? Are you looking to day trade? Because if you're swing trading, I mean, missing an entry price here and there is not going to be a big deal. Usually it flushes either to the upside or the downside, and it's fine. You'll just get in usually at a better price. Like OKB, for example. OKB, I was in that trade and it went significantly against me, and I continued to add to that position. So you didn't catch the first entry price. That's fine. You catch the next one, and then you can have a much better entry price. That's the nice thing about trading on your own, is you're not necessarily reliant on the AI to find you the best setups. So, all right, guys, just a heads up, I am filled on AI16Z, 1/10 position.
all right, let's do it. Long or short?
I am long.
AI16Z
at
USDT
1123, 1/10 position. AI16 Z, 1/10 position, 3x leverage. So this is based on a 10-minute bottoming tail that formed. So what I'm going to do is, on a 15-minute closing basis, if it closes below this low pivot, I will stop out. 15-minute closing basis. Okay, so just a heads up on that. And then for an upside move, I'm looking for 2.5%, 3%. So 1150 is my upside target. Okay.
Gotcha.
Beautiful.
Hopefully you guys can see that on the screen. I tried my best. That's a lot of information. It's not the correct price. It's 11 cents, right? Basically.
Yep.
1, 2, 3. Okay, got it.
Yeah, and on Polkadot, I'm actually interested to get in a little bit earlier, right around 375. So let's move this up on Blowfin. 375, right there. And I got 1/10 position with 10x leverage here on Blowfin. You can see Polkadot now starting to breach this pivot low. See if we can get a flush down here, get us filled.
Yeah, I know there are more questions, guys, but we're looking for trades right now.
Here, I'll take one. If that's fine, I'll take one.
Yeah. Let's see here. Tommy says, I'm trading the 1 hour, 4 hour, and daily charts on futures and hold it for several days usually. So I was curious about the funding rates on perpetuals, since seems like they can nullify profits if you're up in the position and have to pay the funding fees.
Well, yeah, you always got to be aware of the fees, right? Especially on others like futures, you can have higher fees. So beware on that. And I'm uncertain though. The question though, what was the question though, Lawton?
Is a callback to his original question, which was just like, how do you guys deal with the fees, the funding fees?
Gotcha.
Essentially.
Gotcha.
If you're swing trading, rather.
Right.
Trading.
Yeah, when you are exactly, and I guess when you differentiate the two, right? Like you're trading on the hourly chart. I'd just I guess just be mindful of position size, because the fees are usually directly tied to that with your position
And the
size.
leverage too.
Yep.
Leverage you use.
Mm-hmm. I found with Blowfin, me using the higher leverage helps me negate some of those fees because the gains will be much higher, right? So that's what I've been doing. Maybe that might help with you there too. Just been using higher leverage. Now, keep in mind, higher leverage, you can run the risk of getting liquidated faster. Polkadot getting a bounce here right at these pivot lows. And shoot, I hope that wasn't the spot for the bounce. Let's see here on Polkadot. And I was targeting right down here. We've got some more consolidation right at the bottom end of these pivots. If we get a nice flush out, this area has an inclining trend line too. That should work out pretty good. What a nice curl over though. Polkadot's one of those cryptos that's just really not taking off either. See, it's still hanging out way down here at the lows of the chart compared to some of these other ones like say Mantle or Link, right? Mantle has just ripped up so much higher. Look at that beautiful move on Mantle. And then it's starting to curl back in and come in. Chainlink also was another one of those huge movers. Notice here on Chainlink, we certainly bumped up into resistance with this declining trend line. And look at the beautiful nature of how that went up. We did consolidate. I don't know if I would even call it proper consolidation, but you see price really stalled in this area, almost putting in a false top, and then just ripped higher and then put on the brakes right here at this declining trend line. Really fascinating stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, Chainlink has stayed really strong.
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean we're going long?
I mean, you could, that's just the great thing about investing, right? If you are in your 20s or 30s, you've got decades left potentially on your life, and you're just looking to pick up some of these cryptocurrencies. Now, with my teachings and my experience, I'm going to be hesitant to get into anything unless I've got some sort of pullback. I'm going to perceive that as being on sale. But if you have a long-term outlook, and say you're wanting to invest, I don't know, $100 a month into any crypto, and you're going to do that consistently all throughout the year, there's nothing wrong with picking some up here and picking some up there. And then as long as you have a strategy to add to that, if your levels continue going lower, and if you've got, decades worth of $100 a month, there's nothing wrong with picking some up with a cryptocurrency almost at any given price, because you'll be able to maneuver throughout the course of the years.
And you actually you wanted to go lower because you're like, all right, my $100 is going to go further this time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially there's no way around it, right, Ben? Like let's just say you bought your first entry at $100, and then now it's at 50. When you see those transactions pile up in that coin in your exchange, whether it's Coinbase or Kraken, whatever you've got, and then you start seeing how many coins you get per that $100 transaction, it'll be illuminating to you to really start targeting, pullbacks. Just like Ben said, you're going to be getting excited if, say, that one crypto you're continually investing in is pulling back. You'll be like, all right, I can get 2 or 3 coins instead of just one with my monthly purchase. So really cool stuff doing it that way too. Plus, too, like Ben said, I think the psychological approach, when a lot of people see prices on stocks going down and prices on cryptos going down, they hit the panic button. But when you're going shopping, it's the opposite. Just because you see a pair of jeans on sale doesn't mean that, oh my gosh, something bad is happening. You actually are attracted to it. You're attracted to the stuff that's on sale, whereas it's almost flipped the psychology where a lot of retail investors, they hear of Bitcoin ripping through 100,000. Okay, now I want to get in. Well, why didn't you want to get in when it was 70,000? So the thought process, there's a little disconnect there. So playing that longer term strategy can really help you, I think, become a better trader, because then emotionally you start to target downfalls and say, oh man, price is pulling back. Where can I get in? Where can I get in on sale? And I think that will help you in the long term for your investment future and career, whether it be part-time or you decide to make it full-time.
Gotcha. Oh, well, guys, we have about 5 minutes left. Let's go back to Ben's trade, see how it's doing. How's it looking, Ben?
I mean, this isn't a bottoming tail, but a good tail on this 10-minute candle. So overall, it's looking pretty good.
All right.
So there's a couple ways you guys can play this, right? So you could either put a stop at break even to protect your trade. And then what you could do is, as price continues higher, you could just move your stop up. I'm going to leave my upside target at 1150 and my stop out level at 1115 on a 15-minute closing basis. I'm just going to set it and forget it. And then, I do limit my potential upside target. It could go up to 1168. So that could be me sacrificing a little bit more, about another 1.5%. But I'm okay with that. So however you guys choose to do it, my job was just to try to provide you guys a good entry price and allow you guys to make the decision yourself.
I mean, you're up, right? You're up right
Yeah,
now. So
we are in the money.
Beautiful entry there, Ben. Beautiful.
Like snipe that thing.
Right?
For now, yeah. Thank you.
We have 3 minutes left. You guys want to take one more chart question? You think you can swing it?
Yeah.
All right. Last question. Yusuf says, can you go over XRP? Are you guys bullish or bearish? How low could we go?
Well, what the neat thing is, bullish or bearish is all time oriented, right?
It's relative.
And we just discussed that one approach, like the $100 a month investor. You could almost buy it anywhere. Really, in that stance, it depends on when you're getting off the roller coaster. It's something my dad used to tell me about investing. He's like, all that matters is when you get on and when you get off. And so, are we bullish? I think near term, very near term, this yellow inclining trend line is really defining the low. Until that's broken, this is the low on Bitcoin, and you see this is already been tagged now a couple times. 275. What was that, Ben? Are you about to get out?
No, XRP.
Oh,
you said Bitcoin.
Oh, did I? I'm sorry. Yeah, XRP. So right around 280. This is very, very near term low. This is the line we need to be watching. Say if you're a bull and or a bear and you want price to come down. The next levels of support are 256, 232. And I would think anything can happen with crypto, but I would think it's going to take an awful lot for XRP to get down underneath this declining neckline from this inverse head and shoulders pattern. That currently under price is right around 216. It's going to be under $2 the longer we string out. So there's the downside potential. Now you've got upside potential, honestly, up here to this inclining trend line. Now that is a stretch the further time we chop side to side. But you do have potential on XRP to be going up towards the $5 or $6 range. Granted, again, Bitcoin has got to be above $100,000. So for this one, I've got a short-term long play, and I think we've got both sides of the play intact. I can see how this can come down after this big run. This is a simple retrace of the scene of the crime down to this neckline. That's certainly plausible, but so far, this yellow trend line has really been holding up price. It's been
really has
incredible.
Yep.
But if it breaks it, you could see,
more downside.
Some downside.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I could. Yeah. Especially, you think about it, like the stock markets are at their highs. What if we just have a 5 or 10% correction in the stock markets? Cryptocurrencies are likely going to get hit too. And in that case, if we have, say, a 10% correction in the stock markets, we're likely breaking this trend line and coming down to one of these three supports that I listed out, 256, 232, and then this basically right around $2 on that neckline.
We lost him again. Yeah, it's likely to break that. Yeah, you said it's likely to break that trend line, and then you kind of went silent.
Oh.
No, I heard him.
Must have been on my end then.
All right, Ben, we're out of time, but let's talk about the levels one more time, Ben, and then we'll close it up.
So here are the levels one more time. This is XRP, so AI16Z. Go back to the 1 minute. All right, here is my upside target. upside target is 1150. That's where I'm exiting. And my entry price is 1123. My exit price on a 15-minute closing basis is 1115. Okay.
Awesome,
Cool.
man. Look at that
Sounds
march
good.
up. There you go, Ben. Nice.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yep.
We'll see if it continues. So,
All right, guys. Well, anyways, thank you so much for joining us again. My name is Lawton Ho. I'm joined by Benjamin Poole and Drew Dosek. We do this every single week. If you have more questions, I'm going live in literally 14 minutes to answer more questions. So you can check me out in my AMA. Anyways, guys, have a great rest of your day. Thank you again to Bluefin for sponsoring us. And hopefully we get a win on this trade. Right?
Yep.
All right.
All right,
bye,
you guys.
Take
Have
care.
a great day. Take care.
Awesome.
Bye.
Take care. Good stuff, guys.